Back
Here we
up
go.
from Miami, Consensus and Crypto Monday, Pete. Bunch of very interesting folks.
I can only imagine.
Well, just take whatever the average Joe or Jane is at the money show or any of the conferences for trading and ramp it up a bit. And they're wonderful folks. They're totally committed to digital or crypto. But the discussions we have at those things, Pete, are very unique. Very unique.
Imagine.
Well, again, folks, as you know, he's Pete Najarian. I'm John Najarian. We'll dive right into it. Macro today, I'm going to say, do you know what else winning looks like, Pete? Winning looks like when U.S. dollar deposits held in banks outside the U.S. are up to a record $14.5 trillion. That is 220% more than the $4.5 trillion held at the beginning of the century. And by comparison, you know how many euros are held overseas, Pete, in banks outside the Eurozone? 3.5 trillion. So, and that's the whole Eurozone. I mean, you know, they're supposed to be the big threat and everything, right? Well, more people want dollars outside of the United States than want euros by a long stretch. What do you got, Pete?
You know, John, looking around, and we talk about risk all the time, and one of the things that I think stands out for me is the price of oil, and we're seeing it today starting to drop pretty nicely, right? Nearly 4% to the downside. And on the other side of things, maybe a little bit of a risk on is Bitcoin, which, by the way, back up above that 81,000 level. So we were stuck in that 65,000 to 75,000 for what seemed like a very long period of time. And then all of a sudden we've started to get a little bit further, 77,000, 79,000. Here we are at 81,000. And I think that says a lot about where the risk factors are right now. And we'll get into a little bit of that when we talk about the VIX, I suppose, too, huh?
Yeah, right about now. In fact, the VIX folks breaking down again. I don't know about threatening 16, Pete, but it's certainly in the mid to low 17s, eh?
No doubt about it, John. Absolutely. I mean, overnight we were hovering somewhere around that 18 level, and we quickly dropped early on. We got down to the low 17, 1722, I think might have been the low. And we've been kind of bouncing between there and about 1750. So, yeah, pretty interesting. And again, looking at the VIX, down about 5% on the day. So we're seeing some positives for sure. And when you see what's going on with the NASDAQ and with the Dow, and like you were talking about early on with the S&P, the big three are starting to make a pretty nice move to the upside. And, you know, throw in the Russell for a little bit of good side of things as well, at up about 1.5%. I mean, things are starting to look a little bit better, at least today. There's no doubt.
Yeah, well, we're seeing also, Pete, natural gas, and that is down 3% today as well. We're holding at about $2.77 per million British thermal units, but that's a lot better than where it could be because of the demand overseas when all of a sudden Qatar and a bunch of those places in the Gulf states started cutting back pretty significantly because of the threat of their boats being blown up. They're not quite as worried anymore, apparently, Pete. All right. Prediction market. I know Pete's going to love this because Pete and I are big country fans.
Yep.
I like all kinds. I listen to Sinatra. I listen to opera. I listen to AC/DC and Metallica. But I really do favor country, Pete. And this lady has been killing it. Ella Langley. And the prediction market that I thought we'd focus on today, Pete, is the #1 song on U.S. Spotify this week. And it is indeed Choosing Texas by Ella Langley. 86% of the money is going on that one. So very interesting at this point. And I just love all of her songs, Pete. Literally all of her songs.
It doesn't hurt that she's kind of good to look at as well. So that part adds into the whole thing. She's a good looking gal. She knows how to sing. She's got an amazing, what she's got from the standpoint of all the various songs that woman has already put out, it's absolutely been amazing. And she's been red hot, John. She really does a great job. And, she's been on tour with some of the biggest guys out there. Well, she's now one of the biggest singers out there on the country side of things. So, I'm not surprised at all looking at this thing right now and seeing where she is. And 86% certainly makes sense to me, John, maybe even higher than that.
Well, when you're going out with Morgan Wallen and Chris Stapleton and Luke Combs,
Riley Green.
Riley Green, love him too.
Yeah.
You're killing it. And like you said, now she's filling stadiums. She's not just the opening act. She's filling stadiums. All right, Pete, let's dive into stocks.
Let's do it.
And we'll start off with Pinterest. And by the way, we did have unusual activity in Pinterest. Oh, I always love it when it plays out like that. I did it yesterday, Pete, on 3 at 3. And that's what Chris Sikora and you and the folks that populate our unusual activity, which we've trademarked, by the way. Pinterest was $20.46. And 8,000 of those May 23 calls traded for 64 cents. 8,000 folks is 800,000 shares of stock. Well, that one worked out okay, Pete, when they just blew through earnings estimates and didn't do what a lot of people have done this year, and that is basically throw out a warning about interest going forward. These guys are up 10% right now, and they were up as much as 17 early on. Stay disciplined, my friends.
Yeah, and the quarterly report, John, like you said, they beat it up. I mean, the revenue was up year over year, 17% to $1 billion. $1 billion. I mean, that's a pretty incredible one. And the fact that the global monthly user growth, John, is a record level for them as well. And it's up 11% year over year. It's 631 million. So they really are hitting it from all different spots. And, the guidance was well above what was previously put out there. So a lot of good things going on for Pinterest right now. And those options sure were a thing of beauty yesterday, literally yesterday. So looking forward to anything else from today that might be coming out tomorrow right now, John. And Pinterest has been an absolute animal at times. This is one of them right now.
Yeah. Well, what about Duolingo, Pete?
Yeah.
Now, this one, folks, they kind of gamify learning another language, and they make it fun. They do ping you, because I started doing this one in Spanish, Pete. Poquito, that means a little. But I was doing this one, and they ping you every day, too. Even on the free part of it, Pete, they ping you and say, hey, have you practiced today? Here's 5 new words, and we'll show you how to do it, and blah, blah, blah. They kind of gamify it. And that's been really popular with Robinhood on the trading side. And it's also popular with a lot of these translation devices that can really teach you enough words to get by. And if you want to be basically a full-on speaker of that language, they can do that too.
Yep, the revenue was strong, John. The bookings were strong, so that was great. The only thing that was a negative and why it went down like this, and people are saying, well, you just talked about how good this thing is. Well, what's going on? Well, the problem is higher investments that they're having to put in there, John. So the guidance didn't look quite as good as people were looking for. So despite the fact that they did put up some numbers and the bookings itself were just absolutely unbelievable. But the problem that they ran into is that they've got this guidance that's a little bit light. And because of that, that's the punishment that you seem to get, and we're seeing that more and more, because we still are in this unbelievable area, John, where we're seeing earnings coming out, revenues coming out that are crushing it, but will they continue to crush it? And that's what people are concerned with most. We want to see all those front numbers for sure, but when you get that guidance and you miss, that ends up being something that's not very good for the stock.
Well, it opened this morning, Pete, at 108.39, traded all the way down to 98.50.
Wow.
And when it was down around 98.50, things were looking pretty desperate. It's still only at 102 right now, but that's a bit of a recovery because it was down some 15, 16%. on the pre-market on the lows. And I think a lot of people were going, sold,
Yeah, they were.
getting rid of it down there. Yeah, it's a real stock. $4.7 billion stock. A lot of people need to, brush up on a language or to learn a language like me. So where do you go?
Yeah.
There's other places is the answer. And if people are cutting back, maybe that's one of the places they're cutting back.
Yeah.
All right. How about Intel, Pete? Because Intel got some really good news that Apple had been holding exploratory talks with them and Samsung Electronics to potentially manufacture processors in the U.S. as an alternative to Taiwan Semiconductor or TSM. Now, we had unusual activity in this one. The chips have been hot. I'm going to be going on with our friend Pete, Charles Payne, in New York today. I'll be going on with Charles, and that was the pre-market today when it was up 4%. A lot of chip stocks have been doing really well. I don't know if anybody's been crushing it like Micron, Pete, but
No.
wow. Broadcom, Micron, and this one, Intel, really putting the wood to it.
Yeah, the strong demand for the AI chips, John, is a big deal, and Intel wanted to get a little bit deeper into this. They had some exploratory so far, is what they're saying, as far as the talks with Samsung and so forth. So it's going to be pretty interesting how this whole thing plays out. But I think that with Apple talking and going different levels, and obviously that Intel's got some presence in places where Apple likes to be. So I would not be surprised at all to see something really come out of this whole thing. And by the way, we continue to see more and more buyers in Intel. It's made an unbelievable run already, John, but there's even some buyers out there now that are buying $20 above where we are as we stand right now. So there's still a lot of bullishness out there about Intel and what's going on.
Well, and by the way, we've mentioned it before, and I'm going to keep mentioning it, Pete, because the president bought 433 million shares at $20.47 last year. Now, with it at a new high, hitting all the way up, I think it was over 110 briefly
110,
today, wasn't it, Pete?
yep.
Let me see. Yep, 110.48. So a new 52-week high, of course. And that stock has just been en fuego. See, I'm using my Duolingo there, Pete.
He's already using it.
En fuego. And it's been great. It's been great. And that's for the taxpayers, by the way. President Trump didn't just spend $9 billion of his money. He spent $9 billion of our money. And now it's worth $40 billion.
Not so
and he
bad.
has a right to buy 5% more through something that you derivative traders out there know is known as a warrant. In other words, it wasn't listed, it wasn't an option, it was a warrant, which is kind of similar, but it gives him the right to take the stock more, another 5%, so another 216 million more shares at 20, Pete.
Not a bad trade.
That's what winning looks like, folks.
That's winning. That is winning.
All right, one more, Pete. Coinbase. So we all talk about AI all the time. And crypto exchange Coinbase says, you know what? We're going to cut 700 jobs. Market conditions amid restructuring for the, quote, AI era, end quote. So they're not the first. They're not the last. There's going to be a lot of jobs lost because of the efficiencies that AI can bring to companies like Coinbase, companies like ours. So this is pretty interesting stuff, Pete.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, they're getting beaten up pretty good today, John. I mean, early on, like in the early part of the day, very early pre-market or whatever, this thing was trading when it was trading there in the around 212 or something like that. And now I'm looking at it at 197. It's taken a pretty good beating right now. There you go. You got it right there. It's a thing of beauty. And, but it doesn't show you that pre-market side of it. But I'll tell you what, this is pretty interesting to see how bad this, that this is a pretty big impact. Like you said, 700 workers coming off. That's a 14% reduction. So that's a pretty big number as well. So there's some concerns out there. Revenue decline is a big deal. The expectations are of 26% of a decline. That's never a good thing. So that's something where I think Coinbase is going to have to figure a lot of things out, or they're going to be cutting even more jobs into the future, John.
Yeah. And again, this wasn't just because folks of the softness in their business, I'll put it that way. But it was also because AI eliminates a lot of the jobs of people that do, what CPAs do, and spreadsheets and all the rest, and to a certain extent, even programming. So we'll keep our eye on that. But like I said, not the first, won't be the last. Right. All right, Pete, what do you got as far as sports today?
We didn't get a video from you today. We're a little disappointed.
The dang jet, I blame you because I don't know if you paid the bill on the whatever it is, the Starlink.
Forgot to write the check.
Yeah, I forgot to write the check, so thanks a lot. So I didn't have a lot of the reception that I thought I'd have on the plane. So I'm sending it back to you with half a tank, too.
All right. Thanks a lot. By the way, NFL, you know how we talk about it's always NFL, right? 365 days a year, this son of a gun is just going. So what is it now? Well, it's rookie training camp time, John. That's one of the big things. That's one of the storylines. That gives people an opportunity, and the coaches and obviously the media and everybody wants to get out there. They want to see players, that are out there that they want to see what they look like, right? I mean, Fernando Mendoza, he's certainly the biggest that everybody wants to see. The Heisman Trophy winner with another Heisman Trophy winner maybe shows up because it is rookie camp, but that doesn't mean it's just rookies. You'll see occasionally somebody who's maybe a little bit younger who's a part of it as well. And that's something that I think stands out when I look at the Colts, John, because Anthony Richardson, do you remember that name? The guy?
Oh, yeah.
He's coming out of college, right? He didn't, his numbers weren't all that outstanding, but when he went to the combine, his numbers were absolutely off the chain, right? Unbelievable what his numbers looked like. And that's where I think so many of these GMs just don't understand football. They need to focus far more on what they see on tape. And it's kind of nice to see, well, how fast is this guy, right? And all those things. I get it. But when a guy doesn't have great tape as far as what he's been able to do or film on what he's been able to do, and yet they blow it up at the combine and everybody starts, bringing these guys to the next level, that's where they make a lot of big mistakes. And I see the GMs of so many teams, John, making those kind of mistakes. But, it's always quarterbacks when we talk about the NFL. So I thought I'd focus on this. Former Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, still hasn't made up his mind, John, about what he's going to do with the Steelers. And you and I had an opportunity to talk a little bit earlier today about this one. It's getting kind of frustrating. And if I'm the Steelers, I am probably very frustrated with what does Aaron really want, right? Aaron is not making his decision. It's taken a little while, and that's kind of a weird thing. In his old school or old team with the Packers, John, Tyrod Taylor just got a job out there with Green Bay as well. Obviously going to be a backup, but nonetheless, he's going to be there. And Anthony Richardson's at camp as we speak with the Colts. So a lot of weird things going on with this whole thing, John. It's kind of interesting, but I can't quite figure it out. But I think the most exciting thing rookie-wise is this. Jeremiah Love. People in Arizona are going to go upside down and all around when they see this kid, John, and what he can do. And I think they you know what? Some people said, well, they shouldn't have taken him. They should have done this. You know what? Whoever takes him did the right thing. And they needed to do it early because this kid he's pretty damn special. And then, you look at a guy like Caleb Downs as well, Dallas. He's at safety. He's a freak show athlete who put up numbers that are unbelievable. Also put up tape that people could watch where he looked the part. So a lot of fun things going on. The NFL never stops. What do you think about this whole thing? Are you excited to see what's going on and just see a few clips of these guys out there running around and doing what they're doing?
Oh, yeah. These OTAs. I know all you NFL fans know this, but they do OTAs, they do rookie camps and things like that. And it's not uncommon to have, like Pete said, some of the stars, in quotes, show up as well, especially if, you're that third wide receiver. And maybe you were a star in college, but you're trying to break through to the next level. The more you can work with Tom Brady, if because he used to go to those, Pete, until the last 2 years at New England. He
Yep.
showed up at all the OTAs.
Yep.
Why? Just wanted to get the reps in with the guys. Because it's one thing to throw the ball to Pete doing an out pattern, and it's another thing to throw the ball to Edelman doing an out pattern, because he's the guy you're going to be throwing to on Sunday.
Yeah.
So, and that's why a lot of those guys like Julian Edelman and others, Pete, Gronk, used to go out to wherever Brady was hanging out and just, practice with him, because, he needs to kind of know, well, the guy dips his shoulder like this when he's going to go that way, or dips it the opposite way when he's going to go this way from behind, and you're looking at it and you're just used to the timing and everything. So it's one thing for these guys just to show up, Pete, at these OTAs and rookie camps. And I think fans are excited to see it. And when you can, you should go out and see it, folks, because it's pretty cool.
It is. It's a great opportunity. And, 99% of all of them, I'm guessing, at least, there you can just go there as long as you've got the permission. You don't have to pay. You don't have to do all this other stuff. But, and I see it with the Vikings. I've been to many of the practices over the years over there, John, when they've got maybe San Francisco in town or something like that. It's fun to go see them competing, but that's a little bit closer to the start of the season and all that kind of stuff. How about the NBA? We're into the semifinals, so it's getting kind of interesting now, John. And the Knicks last night just absolutely slapped the 76ers. I mean, 137-98 was the final. I mean, the Knicks have played some damn good basketball, and they're getting a little bit better. It wasn't the same for the Timberwolves, but how about the Timberwolves taking down the Spurs? I mean, that was amazing. And of course, Anthony Edwards, John, he wasn't going to play. They finally approved him that he could at least go out and see what it felt like going before the game and see if he was going to be able to go. He did. He got the thumbs up, and he just lit it up like he always does. He did a great job, as always. I'll tell you, I've always said this about the kid, and a lot of people can compare certain people, but he's got the mindset and some of the physical talent that he has a bit of a Michael Jordan to him, right? I mean, he knows how good he is, and he is outstanding. And I'm not saying he's Jordan. I'm just saying the guy works his tail off, doesn't like to take time off, doesn't ever do that load management crap that some of these guys have done over the years. And he's the guy who's kind of bitching about that kind of stuff too, about what kind of players would do that. So you just kind of got to like him, John. But I wanted to run this one by you because I thought it was so interesting. So tonight you got the Pistons playing the Cavs, right? That's okay. Detroit's damn good, Detroit's favored by 3.5. But how about this one? The Thunder and the Lakers. OKC is favored by 15.5. Now, I look at that and I think, you know what? That might not even be enough. Now, it'll be interesting to see tomorrow, of course, but I'll tell you what, OKC, John, those guys can put up points, and they can put up points on just about anybody, and they've got 4, 5, 6 deep of players that are all, able to sit there and just absolutely land some more points on the board. I mean, it's absolutely amazing to watch those guys, and SGA is unreal. So I don't know. What do you think? That's where I'll ask you. The Thunder, are they going to beat them by more than 15.5? They could coast and beat them by 15.5, is my thought. Between Holmgren and SGA. And, the Thunder are favored right now, folks. They're 60% when you look at the odds put up by, I don't care if it's FanDuel, Odds Shark, ESPN, whoever. They're all in that same bracket roughly, 55 to 65%. So I'll bracket it and say 60% chance of winning it all. The Spurs are up there high. The Knicks, because of what they've been doing lately, Pete, should be moving up higher, but they haven't yet. I think that might be mispriced. But a lot of the rest of the group, from Detroit, Cleveland, Timberwolves, Lakers, and Sixers, I think it's really OKC, San Antonio, and Knicks that have the inside track. I think you're right. I agree with you on that. I'd like to say my Timberwolves are there, but they're not. They're just not. They played well. They took out the Spurs, but it's again another best of 7. So they're only up 1-0 at this point. So I don't know. I'd still be nervous if I'm a Timberwolves fan, which I am.
Well, thanks for joining us, folks. Remember, if you want to get any of that unusual activity, we showed you 2 today, Pinterest, and we showed you Intel, and Intel's through 110 now.
Yeah.
So if you want to get trades like that, go to marketrebellion.com/get started.
Mm-hmm.
That's marketrebellion.com/get started, even if you've never traded an option before. We're not going to sell you something if you've never traded before. We're going to say, take all the free education we've got on the site.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you migrate through that stuff, then maybe you get a coach or a mentor, or then you subscribe. But man, we put up trades like that. You know, I'm not going to say we're 100%, but we're in the high 70s, Pete.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could get those odds in Vegas, you'd still be living there, Pete.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Thanks for joining us, folks. We'll be back tomorrow with a look at exactly how much the OKC Thunder destroyed LeBron and his Lakers. And it's at what time tomorrow, Pete? We're going to do that?
We're going on at 1 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, John. Should be a lot of fun.
See you then, folks.